We need to stop acting like money is bad. Like money is the vehicle that powers it all. Money is how we make the changes we want to make. Maybe we put ourselves in a position where we can donate millions to the causes we care about.
Hey, hey, welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking with Megan Kilpatrick, who is a founder, coach, and former CEO who built and sold a seven-figure business. And now she helps women to do the same through her program, Million Dollar Breakthrough. She teaches service-based entrepreneurs how to think like a CEO, and she shows them how to have clarity and scale without hustle and hype. Her mission is to help more women cross that $1 million mark while creating the freedom, impact, and wealth that they deserve. Welcome to the show, Megan. I'm so glad that you're here.
Thanks, Amanda. I'm so excited. This is my first podcast, so I'm thrilled to be on with you.
Well, not to be too lewd, but I always get so excited when I pop a podcast cherry. Welcome.
Yes, thanks.
This is so exciting. So, okay, we have so much to talk about today. $1 million, crossing the $1 million mark, working with women. Let's maybe just start with like the beginning. So, you created a business, you built it to a place that you could sell it. And before we hit the big green go button on this episode, you shared with me that you didn't even have to do it with a personal brand. So, can you tell us a little bit about that business? Like, what was
Sure.
it? And then we'll talk a little more about where you're focused now.
Sure. I started out as a graphic designer. Back in those days, it was still called graphic design. And I went out on my own after working for a small firm for a couple of years. I didn't start a business because I thought I could do a better job or I had a big vision. I actually started on my own out of insecurity. I wasn't happy where I was and I didn't think I could get another job. And so I started picking up clients. And I think that's how a lot of service providers get started. You realize, oh, maybe I can make more money if I do this on my own rather than the company I'm working for taking a cut. So my strengths were providing great client service. Right. So clients were happy. They refer me to other clients. It was also the beginning of web. The big question was, do you have a website? There was before smartphones. Facebook was just starting to be something that you could get if you weren't on a college campus. So really the internet and digital marketing was in its infancy. It was not even an idea yet. So as I grew the business and shifted from me being a designer, my business partner was a developer, we could compete with the big shops because the big shops were traditional and they didn't know web either. We were all learning it. It was new to everyone. So we became kind of the web shop in town. And I'm older than I look. This was about 20 years ago. And it grew very organically, the way a lot of service businesses do. And when you see success as a service business, it heavily relies on you. It took me going out and meeting with people and letting people I knew know that I'm now working on my own and I'm available. Getting referrals, it's me being referred, that the company doesn't have credibility. You really do have to leverage who you are as an individual, but that wasn't necessarily the brand of the company. And in those days, especially being great at search engine optimization, we were top of the list. So somebody needed a website. We came up first. We knew what we were doing. So it wasn't about me then. People would fill out the form and reach out and contact us. And so I was able to grow a successful business and build a team, even though I'm more of an introvert and don't typically love the spotlight.
Yeah, I love it. How did you end up exiting the business? How did that work?
I had decided I wanted to sell the company. This was 2017. And my business partner and I had been married and were divorcing.
Mm,
So that was a major life event that made me realize like we didn't want to have to stay in business together at that point in our relationship. And To me, the logical step was I've built something here. It has a lot of value. I'd like to find somebody to buy it. He was a skeptic. He was like, it's a service business. We don't even own the buildings that our offices are in. Like, what are the assets here? How do you sell a service business? And so I felt like I was doing that alone because he was really a critic along the way. And we were getting divorced. So
Not the most collaborative season for your relationship, it sounds like.
we are good co-parents. I'd say we're friendly. Like things are really good now. And I think I attribute that to continuing to have to work together. We had to show up for our employees. We had to be professional. So it really made us work through the ick faster. It's sort of that fake it till you make it. That applies in your personal relationships too. So I credit the business for that and this process of exiting and having to do that together and continue to be a team after the divorce. So that drove my motivation. And that was in 2017. And I said 2018 is going to be the year of just getting the books shining. Just like it's all about profit. And it was really interesting to me how differently I approached decisions like personnel, headcount, investing in the future. It was like, no, like what will make it more profitable? The more profitable, the more I can get when I sell it. And I'm not someone who was very profit driven. I was very much about culture, very much about the team, and to have a conscious shift of I'm making decisions based on this. At the same time, I didn't walk away from the business. I didn't close the business. I felt that selling the company was also the best option for my team. That this is how they continue to have jobs and they continue to do the work that they love.
Yeah.
So it's not a one or the other. And through that process, I realized it's okay to make more profit based decisions, and it can also benefit your team. And I think that's especially common for women. I coach women who say, like, well, I'm not really focused on me making money. I'm really investing in this. And I really question that line of thinking. At what point is it worth it for you personally to build your own wealth? Because we are investing so much time, so much passion. We are spending less time with our families. We are spending less time with our friends because we are running businesses. This was my first baby. I have two real babies who are teenagers, but
Yeah.
but this company was my first child, and it really is an investment of your heart and soul. So
Yeah.
it's important that you're able to pay yourself and pay yourself better than you would be paid if you worked for somebody else.
That's the thing is there's so much dissonance about this, and especially, I work in the coaching and expert space specifically. I know you work more broadly with like service providers, but I hear this virtue signaling all the time about, it's not about the money for me. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
really? Okay, well then that means that you can't afford to get the education you need to do better. That means you can't afford the advertising to be seen. That means you can't hire help, so you end up doing jobs you hate. So then you end up feeling grumpy and out of alignment all the time. So what is that signaling to your team? What's that signaling to your
Mm-hmm.
customers? Right? Like money is ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's like oxygen. Dean Graziosi has this little turn of phrase around the money thing that I love, which is if there's not enough, you'll notice. It's just like oxygen, right? Like if there's not enough, you'll notice. And if you don't pay attention, there won't be enough. And I've definitely fallen into that trap myself as well. So I think that's probably why I get pretty heated about it. When I looked into this exact issue of like women in particular, I just noticed because I did female led masterminds and then I started hanging with some bros. I started going like
Mm-hmm.
into different cultures to do my learning. And that ended up being one of the most important things I did because what I realized in the bro led masterminds, there wasn't all this signaling about like money's not important to me. None of that.
Yes.
Like money was very important
There's
to
no
them. Like they
shame,
were
right? They have no shame about how important
no
money is.
shame whatsoever attached to money. They were competitive about it. They got pissed off about it. That like there was definitely emotional attachment to money that drove behaviors that were very different, very mathematically minded, very competitively minded. There was definitely, I noticed, because I was in a good community, I noticed that like competition was super important, but there was also like rules of engagement, so to speak. And I think when I was in the other environments, I heard a lot of fear about being misunderstood or that things
Mm.
would be done unfairly. And, so I get pretty hopped up. But what do you think is the main reason that women don't understand maybe? And I chalk it up to like a learning and understanding and what gets repeated sort of thing. Why don't we talk about profit, do you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think there's probably a long list of reasons, but when you look historically, it has not been women who are in these leadership seats of businesses. The truth is, well, I believe business is the best vehicle we have to change the world. It drives everything. And we can innovate. Government has its place, but it's not going to move quickly. It's not going to innovate. It's not going to change lives the way innovation can in capitalism. And so I hope that more women see that the impact they want to make to their communities, to even global communities, that is best done by being a badass in business. So that's kind of the vision I see for what can shift. What I've noticed, I've been in peer groups, CEO peer groups, and they're predominantly men. Often I'm the only woman in the room. And you're right. The men are, they're fine talking about this is my goal and it's all about profit. It's all about revenue, or I want to be at X by this year and I'm going to exit and I know I'm going to get this many millions when I exit. They're very clear on their financial vision. And so I think it's actually lovely that women bring a different vision, a different driver to the equation. But we need to stop acting like money is bad. Like money is the vehicle that powers it all. Money is how we make the changes we want to make. Maybe we put ourselves in a position where we can donate millions to the causes we care about. And so I think there's an undervaluing of our time often, and fundamentally biologically, and there's of course edge cases where this is not true always, but I think biologically women and men respond to their own insecurities very differently. When I see men in these peer groups and they're insecure, and maybe they'll admit it one on one in a side conversation, but they're in that room and they puff up their chest and they've got something to prove and they're going to go bigger because of it. So their insecurity is this fuel that makes them want to go even harder and prove something to everybody else. I think largely women kind of take the opposite approach. When we feel insecure, we want to take a step back and we want to plan and prepare. We want to see, well, what other things should I understand better before I start down this path? So there's more caution. Part of it is like the protecting the nest, and we got to protect what we've built so far, whereas the men are, sometimes they don't even acknowledge the risk they're taking, that they're
Right.
endangering their progress by running off in this new direction. And again, these are I'm painting with a broad brush, but as I meet more and more women in business and I see what's holding women back from taking bigger leaps, from putting themselves in front of bigger clients with bigger budgets, faking it till you make it. And there's another version of fake it till you make it, which I've adopted recently, which is embody the version of yourself that already has what you want. It's basically fake it till you make it, but it sounds more authentic. And I really like that as a calming mantra for like, I know I am capable of this. Maybe I'm not positive I'm capable of it today, but I know in time I will be. So why don't I go ahead and embrace her? Maybe that's
I was
5 years
literally
away
thinking
me,
about
or
this morning. I'm making the bed, getting ready for today, got my hair all cute, doing all the stuff, and just dropped into my brain. I'm like, how do beliefs work? Like when people actually believe in themselves, what's the precursor to that? And what I arrived at is like you don't have firm belief and faith usually until you have some experience and you have some wisdom that you can pair with your theory, right?
yep,
But the precursor to that is the belief in the possibility. When
yes,
I think about embodiment, and I think because a lot of people say like be, do, have, and that's a terrible, terrible piece of advice for most people because if they don't know what actions or behaviors or perspectives correspond to that being, they won't do the right things. So I think it's like, but it is a bit of a shorthand of belief in the possibility of what it could be like and get into motion.
yeah.
Like
And
do
it's
the thing
iterative. It's
and be willing to
okay.
iterate. I
Yes.
think that's the thing too, is like there's so much pressure to be perfect as a woman. You know,
Yeah.
you've got to be so perfect before you do anything, but that's not the nature of excellence. Like you can't do something completely perfectly before it ever receives oxygen, you know, like, and that certainly has been a tough one for me to learn over the years. And I have to remind myself because there's so much indoctrination to it. You know, coming back
Yes.
to like this whole profit thing, I wonder if you've seen the same thing, even just in social media feeds. A lot of the content that's aimed at women is about focusing on how you look. It's
Hmm.
about getting premium outcomes for, you know, premium makeup for drugstore prices. That's one that I see all the time. How to feed 8 people on this teeny tiny budget, right? And it's all about like smallness, and they don't say profit. They don't say how to earn more. They say how to basically like make yourself as small as possible, you
Mm.
know, versus when you look at a predominant, like my husband, he's a stay-at-home dad. And it's so funny because like I'll look over the shoulder at his feed at
His
times
feed
and he's getting
sports.
like, here's how to
He's
make a
not
great
getting that.
stock pick. Here's how to do, and like he doesn't even play the stock market. Like what the hell is
Yeah.
happening? You know, it just seems really different to me.
Yeah, there are a million or more tiny businesses. There really are. And
Yeah.
it's fewer than 1 in 10 that make it to a million. And that includes men and women running businesses. So when you look at just women breaking 7 figures, the number is minuscule. So I get the algorithms. I get why they're marketing to every woman. It's everyone's dream to work for themselves, to have a side business that exceeds their salary or allows them to be more devoted to their family, be a stay-at-home mom, and also be making money on the side. It was certainly a factor for me, running my own company and being able to show up as a mom when I wanted to, how I wanted to. I'd had a pretty negative experience my first job out of college where I felt like they owned me. Like I would be questioned for not being there at 4:30 or coming in a little late. That was a big driver for me in going out on my own for sure. So all those benefits do exist, and I understand why a lot of people want to start a business. But who you are to start the business is not who you are when you scale past 7 figures, and not the same person that's able to build something that can be sold.
What is a question that you never get asked, but you wish more women entrepreneurs would ask you?
Oh my goodness, how much should I be making? I think that we don't talk numbers like at all. It is I've got girlfriends that I've known for years, and we've never talked salary. We've never talked like what are our financial goals. So I think there's a lot of taboo around talking money. And I might talk about the fact that I have a mountain house. I talk about the fact that I sold a business. So like people get an impression of your financial situation, but how much is that really? Like who's talking numbers? So especially when I'm coaching women who are starting their own service businesses, they're used to the salary they had when they were doing that somewhere else, and now they're doing it for themselves. Well, what is a reasonable amount to expect? And I just think that's a less common conversation for women. And if we have that conversation more and we adjust our expectations, this isn't just make a little bit more than you made when you were an employee. This is like you can make double or triple. To go from like I am in business for myself because I can build wealth this way versus just being grateful for a 401k.
Well, you're not just a doer anymore, right? And
Yeah.
this took me a second. I still remember the day that I charged out more than my boss. Like I used to be a consultant, so I saw like the rate cards for the consultant. And it was like, whoa, like the lead of the like I'm personally getting compensated more than that. But it's not just because like I'm special. I am special. It's just,
Yes, you are. You are.
but it was also because it's like I also did all the marketing. I did all the sales conversations. I'm taking on all the personal risk. I'm stewarding the money that's come in. Like there's so much more to your role than when you were an individual contributor that warrants that additional pay. And you know, that's something that I think about, for example, when other entrepreneurs are approaching about partnership, is I'm like, well, hang on, work effort and decision making that needs to get paired with the doing of the doing, right? Like the doing is
Hmm.
actually a very small percentage of the total revenue of the business because there's so much more that we have to account for. And to your point, if you don't even know what your North Star number is, that you know that pursuing this, you will be better off than if you just stayed in the other thing. You will forever be tempted. I think the best advice I ever got was my own mother, oddly enough.
Wow.
She ran her own business for a really long time, and I remember I was whenever I need to solve a problem, I go to a spreadsheet, which is why you and I are going to be fast friends. But I was like trying to like math the math in this spreadsheet to figure out what my rate should be for coaching. And my mom said this thing. She says, Amanda, you need to make the number so high you're never tempted to go back to corporate.
Hmm.
And I was like, and I 10x'd what I had put in that spreadsheet because I realized I was like, if I'm going for this, I'll fight for this, right? I'll work for this. I'll
It's
learn for
worth it.
this, right? And it's worth it.
All the sleepless nights, all the
Yeah,
stressing
absolutely.
about making payroll, like it's all worth it when you actually reach that goal.
Exactly, exactly. Your worth it number. I love this. So Megan, if people wanted to keep up with you and find out more about what you do, what's the best way to do that?
Breakthrough.com and also find me on LinkedIn, Megan Kilpatrick, and I'd be happy to connect.
Amazing. Do it, do it, do it, listener. And we've got all of Megan's links in the show notes below. So thank you so much, Megan, for joining me on the show today.
Thanks for having me. It was fun.
My pleasure. And listener, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss another episode as they come out. And if you love this, if you've got a friend who you know that they're capable of thinking bigger and, really taking their idea and going places with it, be sure to grab the link to this episode and send it to them however you guys like to chat, whether that's over text or over Messenger, however you like to share it. Let's just get this into the ears of your dear friend. And if you're really loving the show, can you just take like 2 minutes and leave us a candid review? Those reviews go a really long way to helping people decide whether they want to spend time with us, and we always appreciate your support. Until the next time, just remember, do what matters.